everybody. Welcome to the Peaceful Solution Character Education webinar. We are glad you came back today for this portion. And today we are going to be in the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Intermediate Series, and we're going to be talking about respect, the respect unit. So, we're going to start off with, how many of you know what it means to respect someone? You don't have to give the Webster's, definition, but what does it mean to respect someone? Yes?
If you see some of your friends are talking together, don't butt in. Walk away. Yeah.
Okay, don't butt in where you don't belong. That's a great way to show respect. Yes?
To show care and concern.
To show care and concern. Now that's the Peaceful Solution definition, right? To show care and concern. Well, respect means to recognize the value of people and things and to treat them with consideration, care, and concern. And I don't know, I had the definition up here in case y'all didn't see it. It's right there. So think about that for a moment, because everybody deserves respect, right? What does the world say? They have this little term that you have to what? Earn
Your respect. You have to give respect to get respect.
Exactly. And you're going to learn today, hopefully, that's definitely not the case. Now we're going to start in Chapter 3 of the Respect Unit. And that's on page 51. If you're at home watching on the web, it's on page 51 in your book. And we're going to talk about people for a minute. Because how many times a day do you see people? How many times a day do you see people?
All day long.
All day long. Sometimes we can take people for granted, right? Because we see them so much that we can take it for granted that we need people, that people deserve respect, and that we need them. Now, I want you to think about something for a minute. I want you to think about yourself being stranded on a deserted island. Right now it might sound really enticing, right? Give me just a minute. You're stranded on a deserted island. All by yourself. It's just you. No one else. You're there for days. You're there for weeks. Months go by. It's just you. There's no one else there. In the middle of nowhere. Years go by. 10 years go by. It's just you on that deserted island. Somebody give me some thoughts of how life might be for you. Nobody else on this island but you for 10, 20 years. Lonely. Very lonely.
Like being in jail.
Exactly. Like being in jail.
I'd be discouraged.
Discouraged, right?
Hopeful, looking for something, anything,
Anyone. It would be, yes.
I think I might start to lose touch with reality.
Yeah, very possible.
Early on.
Yeah, exactly. It not only would be lonely, it would be unbearable. Because we need people, right? Would everybody agree with that? That you need people. You need people to tell you, you look nice today. You need people to encourage you, to lift you up, to just talk to you. Have a casual conversation, right? In our everyday life, we need people in everything that we do. So it's very important to remember that when we're dealing with people, every person deserves respect. And let's not ever forget, let's not ever take for granted the people that we come in contact with on a daily basis. Because it's easy to do. We see them so much. But people need people. And on page 51 it says, for any interaction to be positive, there must be what? Respect. There must be respect. What situations do you see in the world today right now that are very distressing to you because of lack of respect? Can anybody think of one? I know the list can go on and on and on. Let's just think of a few examples.
Abuse.
Abuse? Okay.
The children in school. don't respect their teachers.
Right. The children in school don't respect their teachers.
I have an issue with the fact that corporate greed is affecting my food supply.
Okay.
It's a big one, but I just have to say it.
Okay. Corporate greed is affecting the food supply. Okay. Yes.
Bullying.
Bullying. Yes. Anyone else?
Husband and wife, parents fighting all the time, not respecting each other.
Husband and wife, you said? Yeah, husband and wife fighting and not respecting each other, and that really affects the children, doesn't it?
Lack of respect for the environment, like you see graffiti and pollution all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. I see a hand here? No. Here?
Working alone by yourself at home
Working alone?
can be kind of stressful.
It can. It can be very distressful. Yes, working alone.
People are so consumed with self and the way they look that they find themselves in situations where they have these eating disorders.
That's a great one. No respect for themselves, right? Because of maybe what other people think.
And not only, to go along with what she said, there's not only the eating disorders, but they're doing all kinds of things to their bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, they're plastic surgery or injecting these dangerous products into their bodies so that they can look so youthful.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, a couple more.
Lack of government, respect in the government. The different heads of government are fighting each other, and that impacts everybody below that.
Right, exactly.
A lack of respect for others' property, the vandalism and the graffiti that takes place out in society.
Great point. Yes.
Lack of respect for unborn children.
That's a great one. Lack of respect for unborn children. Last one.
Many children do not have respect for their elders.
Yes, the children these days, they do not have a respect for their elders. And this is a breakdown. There's been, throughout the years, you can just see the breakdown of the way that the children used to be brought up, with that respect, with the basic moral principles in life, and then how they are now. And so, but that's why we're here today, because this is what we want to change. Of course, we have to first change it within ourselves, but then we're going to go out, we're going to teach it to our children, and then teach it to others. So this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with learning how to communicate respectfully. We're going to learn how to communicate respectfully, because this is very interesting, that over half of our communication skills are based on body language alone. How many of you have ever been talking to somebody and seen negative body language in their response? I would say everybody here, right? How many of us have responded negatively with body language? Right, because, it takes practice, and we have to know how to properly respond. We have to be taught how to properly respond, right? So today we're going to learn about some tips on how we can communicate respectfully, because remember, we need people, and we're always communicating with people, and we need to be able to communicate respectfully, because that's how our positive relationships are going to grow. Because as we all know, if we can't communicate respectfully, what occurs in a relationship, whether it be a friend, whether it be a child, whether it be your spouse, what occurs? Conflict. Yeah, arguing, conflict, fights, wars, right? That's not peace. That's not what we want in our lives. We want peace. In order to do that, we have to learn to respond respectfully. And there's 4 different ways that we can communicate with our body language. There's words, there's facial expressions, there's body language, and there's also tone of voice. We're going to get examples of those in just a moment, of how a negative response in each one of these, so we can get the example. And then I'm going to ask someone to come up and do the positive response. How we can respond to that respectfully. Okay? So before we get to that, we want to talk about communicating involves what? Listening. How many of you would say that you're a really, really great listener? Okay, a few people? I can't raise my, I'm trying, that's something I'm really working on. I've learned through the Peaceful Solution that you have to be a great listener in order to be a great communicator. And I used to think I was a great listener, right? I like to hear people's problems. But that's not what being a great listener is. You know, you've got to hear people out. You've got to be patient. And it takes practice to be a really great listener. And I know that we've all talked to people that were really great listeners. And as you're talking and they're giving you that look and they're listening, and you know they're really sincerely, they could be getting a text on their phone, they don't look at it. Their phone could be ringing, they don't answer it. Their eyes are on your eyes, and you're just like, wow, they are really listening to what I have to say, and it makes you want to talk more, right? And it makes you feel comfortable, you know. And they're really great listeners. That's what we have to become. That's what we have to become. Not interrupting people when they're trying to tell us their problems and, you know, really hearing them out. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But you want to give others the opportunity to express their needs to you. Okay, because you all want that, right? When you're talking to somebody, you want that respect given to you. So we need to learn to give it to them. Okay, let's get to some examples. Who has the words example? Negative example with words. Look at the tops of your paper. I need the responder and the explainer. Please come forward. And they're going to give you an example of how we respond negatively with words.
Coming in from much late is a bad habit that needs to be changed.
You just always are my key.
Okay, thank you. Do you see? Okay, wait. You can stay. You can sit down because I need someone, unless you want to do the positive, I need someone to respond to that in a positive way with positive words. Who can respond to that respectfully? Okay, that was the negative. We all heard that was pretty negative, right? You wouldn't want to respond to somebody in that way. Let's respond respectfully now. Do the same thing. She's going to respond.
Coming back from lunch late is a bad habit. About that.
Okay. I understand that that's something I need to change. Do you have any suggestions?
Great job. All right. Great job. Thank you. That's it. Facial expressions. Let's do facial expressions. Who's got facial expressions?
Okay, Karen. This afternoon, I'll need you to change the procedure. I'd like you to stand after you have finished your work so that
you can stay. Who wants to come up and do that respectfully? Who wants to come up and do a respectful facial expression to respond to this? Well, do you want to come back up and do you want to revive yourself?
I'll redeem myself.
Okay, Karen. After starting today, I'll need you to change the procedure, the way we've been doing things.
Okay.
Do you see the difference that makes? I mean, it's unbelievable from the first situation to the second. You know, she could have been fired that first time, right? Okay, thank you. Body language.
I'd like to remind you of company policy about taking things home.
All right. Completely disrespectful body language there, right? You want to redeem yourself? Okay.
I'd like to remind you about our company policy about taking things home. That we don't take office supplies home with us. We try to ask before you
Great job. All right, completely different body language from the first time to the second time, right? Okay, and we have one more in tone of voice. Tone of voice. I want you all to think about yourself as you're watching these examples and how you can, improve in each one of these within yourself.
Okay, so we have this stack of invoices here that need to get filed alphabetically. Last name first. It's really important that you do last name first, not first name last, okay? Does that make sense?
I mean, I guess.
Okay. That was not a very respectful response with her tone of voice. Do you want to give the proper, respectful way?
Okay, we have this stack of invoices here that it's very important that you file them last name first, not first name last. Does that make sense?
Yes, great. I'll be happy to do it.
Okay, great. Now, one thing I want to point out is when communicating respectfully, it takes a lot of self-control to do that, doesn't it? And we've learned about self-control in these classes, but it really takes a lot of self-control in order to communicate responsibly, respectfully. So think about that, though, in your everyday interactions. Every time before you get ready to respond, think about your body language. How are you standing? How are you looking? What is your tone of voice? How are you speaking? Because it's not just the words that... How many of you have children and you know what I'm going to say, right? Because it's not the words that come out of their... Yes, Mom. Because you know it's not the words that come out of their mouth. Because how many times have you said this? It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? And that goes for us too. It's not what we say, it's how we say it. It's also how we're looking, right? I heard a speaker not too long ago say, you know, those sighs that we women can give sometimes, you know, says it all, doesn't it? You don't have to say a word, but that sigh says the whole story. All right, so we're going to talk now about the language of respect, and we're going to talk about how we can speak respectfully to people, or how we can encourage them, you know, to give us more respect, okay? So the first one says, well, first of all, an uncontrolled tongue is like deadly poison. It can kill. Y'all see how that can occur? I mean, it really can. All right, so number one, pay close attention because I'm going to give you a little test after this, and you're going to come up and give you some scenarios, and you're going to put these into practice, okay? All right. Tell the person why you're upset. How many times have you been upset with someone and you just didn't tell them? You didn't tell them why you were upset. They had no idea. We expect that they should know. Like they're mind readers, right? And then sometimes they even ask us, what's wrong? Nothing? Why would you think anything was wrong with me? Right? But what would occur if we just told them what was wrong? Right? Be honest. You can tell them if they hurt your feelings in a respectful way. You can be honest with them and tell them, right? Because they won't know if you don't tell them. We should never assume that they know why you're upset. Never assume that a person knows why you're upset. And even if they don't ask, is it okay to tell them? Yeah, because how will they know? Some people do things and they absolutely do not do it intentionally, right? How many times have you went to someone and you just really thought that person was trying to upset you, and they had no idea? When you talked to them, they were like, I had no idea. And then you felt kind of, foolish that you just assumed that they were trying to make you upset. So tell the person why you're upset. All right. Tell the person what you would like them to do or not do. And be very clear about what you need, right? In a respectful way, right? Be very clear about what you need. Take the time to listen to their side of the story. Y'all, that listening is so important. You know you want to be listened to. They want to be listened to. And how many times have you tried to explain yourself and somebody just kept cutting you off? And you're trying to explain, and maybe they're asking you a question, and they keep cutting you off, and you can't get it out. Isn't that irritating? So we want to give them the respect. We want to listen to their side of the story and everything that they have to say. That goes for our children, too. We need to hear them out. Use the proper tone of voice. Very, very important. Refrain from cursing, right? And avoid put-downs. Okay? Those are some tips for how we can speak the language of respect. Okay. Are y'all ready for your little test? Do I have a volunteer? Anybody want to come up and do a little impromptu? Okay. All right. So you're the supervisor. Okay? And your boss told you to give the receptionist an instruction to call somebody at a certain time.
Okay.
You forgot.
Oh.
And it was a very important call. The boss comes to you and is very upset. Okay? So now you have a problem with the supervisor. Using these tips, you're coming in from lunch.
Okay.
You're going to explain to her your problem. Respectfully.
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, not so well.
What's the matter?
Well, you forgot to tell me about this important phone call, and I got chewed out really bad.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. You know what? I'm going to talk to him and make sure he knows that was actually my error.
Oh, would you do that for me?
Well, it's probably the right thing to do, and in the future, I'll try harder to communicate better with you.
Thank you. I thought it was just, you just forgot. I mean, we all do that, and every now and then we forget. So, thanks. I appreciate that.
All right, great.
Great job. Okay, but just remember those tips. Very important in your communicating, okay? All right. So the last thing we're going to go over today is respecting diversity. Who can tell me what diversity is? Who can tell me what diversity is? Different. To be different. How many of you experienced a situation any time in your life where you saw where diversity was not respected? Anybody want to give me an example?
Growing up, I lived in New Orleans, and my dad was very prejudiced against people of different color.
Okay, great example. Prejudice against people of different color. Anybody else?
Well, I remember as a child, I was brought up in a loving family where we weren't taught that people were different because they looked different.
Right.
So I remember going to a park, and there were a lot of kids over there playing, and I walked over and I said the child was white, but I didn't notice any different. Mm-hmm. And I said hi, and I began to play with the child, and her parents snatched her up and walked away. Mm. And I was like, where'd they go?
Yeah. That's a great example. Let's talk about the feelings that come from when you don't respect somebody who is different. What can that cause?
Feeling of rejection.
Yeah, feeling of rejection. Yes. Very much so. Insecurity. Think about the bullying that goes on in the schools. Think about the suicides that we've got going on with all of the children, the young children. Young as, I don't know, I saw one on the news not too long ago, 8 years old, 7 years old, committing suicide because they're bullied. I had one here. I had a bunch of news articles we can't get into, but one says, just over 2 years ago, 15-year-old Billy Lucas took his own life after a sustained campaign of bullying at school related to his perceived sexual orientation, among other personal characteristics. And his dad, he goes now to schools and he talks to the other children about, the importance of not bullying and so forth. But really what it comes down to, because we know bullying is nothing new, I'm sure that every single one of us remember somebody in our school when we were little that was bullied, right? It's really just a lack of respect for somebody who you think is different than you. And so what we need to learn to do is respect people no matter what color they are, no matter what size they are, no matter if they can't walk, no matter, whatever the situation is, it's just how we perceive them. And they're no different from you. An article published in July 2001 shows that people share more similarities than differences. And it says that human beings are 99.9% alike. 99.9% alike. And it's just the 0.1% difference that gives us the different physical characteristics. We're all the same, you know. So what we need to do is learn a few steps for accepting the diversity of others. Remember that we're all alike, and I know that we all know this. What we have to do is we have to teach our children this, because children, they need to understand this, you know. We've got a big problem right now with children in the schools. And, you know, we've got to step up our teaching. And even if we think that our children may know, surely our child's not going to do that. We have to keep teaching them. Even if we think that they know that, you know, somebody who they think is different, that they still need to respect them. We need to treat others with respect at all times, no matter what. And it says, treat others with respect. No one deserves to be put down, made fun of, teased. And it says if you can open a door for someone who's handicapped, do that. In other words, go out of your way to do something nice, you know, respectful for someone who might really need that, you know. And I saw this picture. I just want to show this picture. I saw this picture. It got a little beat up in my book. But, you know, I saw this picture and I just printed it. I thought it was so cute because I thought, you know, this is a real picture of a dog that was trained to feed orphaned lambs. And I thought, you know, if a dog can be trained to do this, surely all of our, you know, the human race can be trained to do the same thing, to respect diversity, to go out of our way, to be respectful to people, you know, to make them feel comfortable and just to know that, you know what, you're a person, I'm a person, I need you, you need me, let's just be respectful. And the world is going to be a whole much better place, right? I appreciate your time. I really encourage you to take these steps to heart, practice them, implement them into your life so you can start experiencing the peace that comes when you offer that respect and you give that respect and you start getting that respect back. So thank you very much.